15 days old and snatched from his family. A News Channel 3 investigation leads to chilling new evidence in a decades-old case. It's heartbreaking. A Newport News baby stolen from his mother and never seen again.
The case had grown cold until a News Channel 3 investigation. Investigator Jessica Larche has this story.
Photographs, flashes of a family's past, love, and laughter linger in this picture of teenage mom Vanessa, her firstborn son Frederick in her arms. But missing among these frozen moments in time, her second-born son, David Blockett. He was only 15 days old when a woman stole him and never looked back. David's hospital photo, the only one big brother Frederick's had to hold on to for 30 years.
When you have your brother snatched from you, you're going to think about him.
The story of these separated siblings begins at this Newport News home on 13th Street. It's December 11th, 1980. 19-year-old Vanessa is inside with her baby boys. A middle-aged black woman, seen here in this police sketch, knocks at the door. She tells Vanessa her name is Marie Kelly, that she's a social worker and there to take baby David to Riverside Hospital for a Christmas party. Mom says she has a 2-year-old son too. So Marie Kelly agrees to take both boys.
I remember being in the car. I remember my brother sitting beside me. And I remember playing with it was a cassette tape, and I was just taking a ribbon and pulling the cassette tape. But I also remember a man driving the car. It wasn't her.
Soon, the mystery man and woman put Frederick out of the car in Hampton.
And where they dropped me off, I remember a whole lot of white silos, like farm. I think it was more farmland back then.
She put a note in Frederick's pocket with his address on it. Seconds later, they took off. A woman found Frederick. Police brought him back home. Baby David and Marie Kelly haven't been seen since.
Why? Why did this happen? Why did y'all take him? Why? You know, what was the point?
But why this house? Why baby David Blockett? Well, the answer may have been in the local paper.
3 days before David's abduction, a listing of local births in the daily press. Vanessa Blockett's announcement for baby David on the list. Newport News police would soon learn there was no social worker named Marie Kelly, no Christmas party either. The last trace of her or David found on the Yorktown Colonial Parkway. 10 days after the abduction, authorities found a diaper bag filled with David's clothes. In a minute, chilling new details about this evidence discovered just last week. But first, how we discovered David's missing mystery. I came across David's case on a missing children's blog site, started digging. Sadly, I learned Mom died of an aneurysm in 1997. She was just 36. But we found Frederick, an elder now in Selma, North Carolina. We worked with Newport News police to reopen the case.
If you didn't find it, David would still be closed case with nobody looking into it.
Newport News Detective Amber Rogers is assigned to David's abduction case. She dug up the original case file. Info inside points to 2 theories. Marie Kelly wanted to sell baby David or raise him as her own. But how could they find her or David today?
I mean, this has so much clues and evidence right before us.
The answer may be in the clothes David was wearing the day he was abducted. It was inside the diaper bag the abductor left on that parkway in Yorktown. Just last week, detectives found them tucked away in their evidence warehouse. David's little booties, blankets, sweater, and jeans. On top of that, a comb and hair samples preserved for 30 years. DNA testing didn't exist back in the 80s. Testing of it today could lead to finding David, the abductor, or both.
I think this evidence will give us a huge boost into locating David and reuniting him with his brother.
But if David is alive, out there somewhere, how would even his family know him? Remember, all they had was this baby picture.
So we contacted the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children about David's case, and we came here to their headquarters in Alexandria, Virginia, to see a photo age progression of what David may look like today.
This is a representation of what he may look like.
Joe Mullins is a graphic artist for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
We picked Mom's nose.
We collected pictures of David's family.
We just gave him Mom's mouth.
To help age David 30 years.
There's those eyebrows.
In a matter of hours.
Maybe, David himself could see that and say, hey, that kind of looks like me, which would be the ideal situation.
A situation Frederick's dreamed about for decades.
If you were able to look him in the eye and know that
that that's your brother, what would you say to him?
I'll run up to him and give him a big hug, you know, and I tell him that I love him and, you know, I'm glad to see him home.
Wow, what a reunion that would be. Now, we also want to let you know David had some very distinguishing birthmarks, one on his back and the other one on his buttocks. He also had a mole on his right ear. Now, if you have any information about what happened to David, take action. Call Newport News Police at 928-4200 or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-843-5678. Live in the control room, Jessica Larche, News Channel 3.
Only on 3, a Newport News baby stolen from his mother and never seen again. Last night at 6, we revealed the chilling details of the abduction. But what do authorities believe was the mystery woman's motive? Investigator Jessica Larche has part 2 of her investigation, Finding David.
December 11th, 1980, a nightmare on 13th Street. 19-year-old Vanessa Blockett is inside with her baby boys. A woman knocks on her door, tricks her into thinking she's a social worker. The abductor takes newborn baby David and his 2-year-old brother Frederick. But she would let Frederick go, keep David, and never look back.
What happened to my little brother? 30
years later, Frederick's still searching for answers.
Why? Why did this happen? Why did y'all take him? Why? You know, what was the point?
Authorities say 2 theories may explain the mystery woman's motives.
We were considering some human trafficking might have occurred.
Newport News detective Amber Rogers reopened the case after we started digging. A peek into the past sheds light on this theory. December 8th, 1980, David's birth announcement appeared in the Daily Press. So did his address and birth date. 3 days later, a middle-aged black woman seen here in this sketch shows up. In her hands, a list of other newborn babies in the area.
She specifically wanted the baby and was looking for another baby down the street.
And get this, the case file reveals around the same time of David's abduction, another so-called social worker approached a different Newport News family. Similar description as David's abductor, but that mother told the woman to get lost. There's more. A February 1986 edition of Ebony magazine profiled black baby abductions. Experts suggested there may have been a baby selling ring. They even profiled David's case. Frederick is leaning toward this theory, too.
Maybe she wanted a baby, you know. Maybe she was thinking, okay, well, I can't just take the baby by himself. I'm going to have to take his brother, but, you know, down the line, I'm going to get rid of the brother.
The second theory behind the 13th Street abduction.
But infants are taken by women primarily so they can rear them as their own.
Robert Lowry is the executive director for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. David's abduction was one of their first cases when the center opened in 1984.
We really strongly believe, just in the case of David, he could very well be out there, maybe having some doubts about who his mother might be, and I think we could help him. All he has to do is reach out to us.
We picked mom's nose.
Joe Mullins is a forensic imaging specialist for the National Center.
We just gave him mom's mouth.
We collected pictures of David's family to help him age David 30 years.
There's those eyebrows.
In a matter of hours.
Maybe, you know, David himself could see that and say, hey, that kind of looks like me, which would be the ideal situation.
I mean, this has so much clues and evidence right before us.
The answer may be in the clothes David was wearing the day he was abducted. The abductor left a diaper bag filled with his little booty, sweater, and more on the Yorktown Colonial Parkway. Just last week, detectives found them tucked away in their evidence warehouse. Among the evidence, hair samples preserved for 30 years. DNA testing didn't exist back in the 80s. Testing of it today could lead to finding David, the abductor, or both. A reunion that could lead to love and answers for Frederick. And in your heart, do you believe that will happen?
Yeah, I believe it.
Now, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children says odds are that David can be found. They've had 279 missing children cases reported since 1983. Only 12 of them, including David's, remain unsolved. Now, if you have any information about David, take action. Call Newport News Police at 928-4200 or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-843-5678. Live in the control room, Jessica Larche, News Channel 3.
New details into a Newport News missing baby investigation. Over the last 2 days, we've told you about David Blockett. A woman stole him from his mother in 1980 when he was just 15 days old. They hadn't been seen since. Now, information coming into our newsroom is helping police get close to cracking the case. Investigator Jessica Larche has been on top of this story and is here now with the new details.
Well, Kurt, viewers have called into our newsroom with information about David Blockett's case, and we've shared that information with Newport News Police, and they say that those tips have turned into some very promising leads. But tonight, an eerie family connection that will leave you shaking your head. 19-year-old Vanessa Blockett trusted a stranger with her 2 boys back in 1980, a regretful decision the mother of her 2 grandsons would make 30 years later.
And new details about 2 children taken from a convenience store.
I'm like, what?
Frederick Blockett couldn't believe it. More than 30 years after he and his baby brother were abducted by a mystery woman, his youngest brother's boys were too.
This don't make no sense.
In Frederick's case, a woman posed as a social worker. She tricked Vanessa into handing over her 15-day-old baby David and 2-year-old Frederick. The woman would let Frederick go, keep David, and never look back. Vanessa never got over it.
A sadness. It was real bad sadness. I mean, it would bring it to tears.
As detectives unsuccessfully looked for David, Vanessa had another son, Dante Blockett. Tavion and Dante Jr. are 2 of his boys with Yvonda Benefield.
That was my nephews, them Dante children.
In June of this year, Benefield brought her boys with her to work at this Shell station. In walks Summer Pinnell, a total stranger. She asked Benefield for a ride to North Carolina. Mom says, sure, just take my car and bring the kids to the park until I get off work. So Pinnell took the car and the boys all the way to North Carolina.
I thought of David, and I thought about my nephews, and I was wondering where they was.
Amber alerts went out. Hours later, the boys and Pinnell found unharmed in North Carolina.
I thank God that they was found. I really thank God that they was found.
The chances, I couldn't believe it.
Newport News detective Amber Rogers was assigned to David's abduction case after we started looking into it. She was baffled when she realized the family connection, too, especially since she was the lead detective on the nephew's case, too.
I have to deal with different stuff every single day, no cases alike, and then here I get 2 kids, you know, both named Blockett, both given to strangers by their parents.
In the nephew's case, their mom was charged with felony child neglect. Those charges were dropped. Summer Pinnell is facing 2 counts of abduction. The woman who stole David on that December day in 1980 has never been found. Vanessa died in 1997 at just 36 years old.
Abductions by strangers is an extremely rare event.
Robert Lowry at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children couldn't believe it when we told him about the family connection. He says the Amber Alert system used to locate children today made all the difference in finding these Blockett boys.
It's unfortunate that we didn't have those advances when David was taken. Had we, you would certainly think that we would have stood a better chance of finding him right away.
The National Center did an age progression of what David may look like today. A piece of hope Frederick holds on to, grateful his nephews didn't have an exact repeat of history.
Both of them came back. There was only one person that came back, and that was me.
About David Blockett's case, we need you to take action. Call Newport News Police at 928-4200 or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-843-5678. Any small bit of information could turn into a big lead. Jessica Larche, News Channel 3.